Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Thank you everybody that submitted questions on my Robb Stark video. A lot of questions about what's going on with his will, like what the Stark line of succession might be, especially what's going on with Sansa and the Boltons right now. There will be some interesting questions for the show to answer when it comes back because technically Ramsay Bolton did consummate the marriage with Sansa, and she's on the run with Reek right now. Until someone with a more legitimate claim comes along, they by rights do hold the North. Not that you'd be able to convince the actual citizens of the North of that. That kind of reminds me of when Joffrey almost got ripped limb from limb by the mob in King's Landing. Just because you have legal claim to something does not mean the citizens will support it, especially if you're super unpopular, which is kind of what the Boltons are right now in the North. On to questions though, here we go. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen all the way through season 5 yet on the TV show, so here we go. John Shark asks, will this letter somehow provide protection for Sansa, who is now on the run? If the Northern Lords recognize Jon Snow as their heir, Sansa would in a way inherit protection from the Boltons, right? Well, I don't think that Sansa would need any kind of official letter or anything to provide any kind of protection. And just for those, he's talking about the will, Robb Stark's will, like the letters that he sent out. No, I think that she'd be fine going to any of the other Northern Lords. I don't want to say unanimously, like every single person from every house in the North completely 100% House Stark over House Bolton. There are over 45 houses in the North, so there'd probably at least like one or two that'd be too afraid to help her. But for the most part, if she were to say to go to like the Glovers in Deepwood Mott or go to the Last Hearth and try and stay with the Umbers, they would totally help her no matter what. I think in that situation, it'd actually be Reek that would be in trouble, because most of the greater lords would probably know what he looks like and know what he did. The thing is like the North is a big place, so there might be some people in some places that have never seen Sansa Stark before. But for the most part, like the greater houses have all probably seen her at some point. Next question, Salem asks, if Jon Snow lives and Stannis is dead, do you think that Jon is Azor Ahai? The way I'd like to think of it, I don't know which interpretation the show is actually going to go with, but I think of Azor Ahai as being more of a metaphor, like not an actual person, just a title that gets given to someone at any given time. I do think he's going to be resurrected, and by default that will make him a very special person in the narrative, but I don't know that that will bestow extra powers on top of him. Like, I think the fact that he holds a Valyrian blade, like if Melisandre were to say like light it on fire and it glowed just like Stannis' blade did whenever she lit it on fire, then you could call him Azor Ahai, and I don't think any of the other characters, like anywhere in the world, would challenge that. They would just be like, oh, okay, so we heard this story of him being resurrected by the Lord of Light. He has a flaming blade. He must be this mythical figure. It's totally okay to be skeptical about that, just because it seems like the obvious choice. Like he and Daenerys seem like the obvious choice to be this mythical figure, just because it seems like there have been so many clues that support that evidence. And I know everyone is kind of wondering if it's going to be some unexpected person that'll be Azor Ahai. I think the title is exactly that, just a title that can be given to anyone at any given time. The real key is getting everyone to believe it, and it's a lot easier to do that when you see someone get resurrected. Next question, Gallifreyan Gamer asks, when do you think that the surviving Stark children, like Sansa and Arya, will reunite, and in what circumstance? I think Bran will forever be the three-eyed raven, but surely the Stark girls will see each other again. Well, I'm kind of hoping that they don't meet up. I do hope that they learn that each other is alive, but I don't want them to like have a really maudlin, like hug it out moment. That's more of like a cynical view, but I feel like it would be a little over the top if like everybody got their heart's wish, like it turned into fan fiction. You could argue that it's already moved into fanfiction territory. I feel it'd be a little bit more believable for Arya to learn that Sansa's still alive and feel some measure of relief, and then just kind of like continue on with her life somewhere else, wandering around the earth being a faceless person. And Sansa kind of did the same thing, where she lived out the rest of her life knowing that her sister was alive, but not getting to see her. It'd be like happy and sad at the same time. Next question, Carlo asks, how things would have been if the Knights of the Vale had united with the North once again? I assume you're talking about Stannis' army. I do think that there'll be an alliance with the Vale, but I think it'll be somebody else from the North that's putting an army together. It makes sense if they're loyal to your house and they have this giant force and they hate the people that are currently occupying Winterfell. This is really where Littlefinger is probably going to shine. Hopefully, like his storyline kind of seemed to trickle off at the end of last season. His whole thing is that he's trying to hold the Vale, like he's trying to keep control of the Vale, while at the same time playing the Boltons and the Crown against each other and trying to secure the loyalty of the Tyrells. I should add, he's definitely trying to play the Tyrells against the Crown, but the Queen of Thorns is just like a little bit smarter than everyone else, so she is very aware that he is trying to do that. But long answer done short, you will definitely get to see Knights of the Vale fighting against Boltons eventually. Next question. So I don't want to mispronounce your name, but you had a really good question. You asked about Benjen Stark. How did Benjen Stark end up at the Night's Watch? Did he commit a crime, or did he just want to join the Watch like Jon Snow? Well, it was closer to the second part. Benjen was the youngest Stark male of his generation, so he knew that he was probably never going to inherit Winterfell, and just to avoid problems, he joined the Night's Watch. It's not unheard of for noble-born youngest child to take the Black. That's actually the same reason that Maester Aemon took the Black, is because there were so many other Targaryens that could have inherited the throne that were in the line of succession. They didn't want it to turn into another bloodbath. And obviously things were not that dire in House Stark. Like, they didn't all hate each other that much. But the idea of honor and duty are really big things in the Stark family. So of course Benjen would think it'd be an honorable thing to take the Black. But I don't think it was anything like with Samwell's family, where Samwell was pressured to take the Black. Next question, Dean asks, why did Ned Stark never legitimize Jon Snow? I'm confused. Well, I think, a lot of people ask that question, why didn't he tell Jon Snow who his mother was? Why was this such a big deal? Why did he continue to be a bastard? The problem is that I think that there was just like a mutual understanding of the people who understood who Jon Snow's mother was, is that it would be better if no one knew. Let's just assume for the sake of argument that Jon Snow's parents are Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. Think about what that would do to the kingdom if it was found out that there was a surviving Targaryen male heir. Patrilineage is a really big thing. He would immediately have a more legitimate claim to the throne than the Baratheons did. And then on top of that, consider how everyone is slowly finding out that Cersei's children are not really Baratheons, meaning that they definitely do not have a claim to the throne. So I think that anybody who was at the Tower of Joy or found out later who Jon Snow's parents were decided that it would be safer for the realm and safer for Jon Snow if no one found out. So it's much safer for everyone to believe that Jon Snow is a bastard and he's never going to amount to anything. He's going to take the Black and people will just forget about him. Of course, best laid plans, that's definitely not going to end up happening. Everyone will find out what happened to Jon Snow eventually. Everyone will know his name. Next question, Mr. Arya Stark asks, what are the chances that Jon Snow and Dany get married? A lot of people want to see that happen. It sounds a little bit like fan fiction, so it's kind of silly. I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't go that route. I'd much rather see one of them sacrifice their lives and the other one be forced to rebuild the kingdom in the wake of the war with the White Walkers. But this is one of those situations where I do kind of feel like the show might give people the fan fiction that they're clamoring for. For better or for worse, usually the fan theories people come up with are way more interesting than the reality of what ends up happening on screen. So like if you want to see Jon Snow become the new Night's King and get married to a White Walker bride, it actually feels like it'd be more likely that he and Daenerys would team up and then they would eventually have to rebuild the kingdom together, despite the fact that Jon Snow will probably never be able to love anyone else after Ygritte. It'd be like one of those loveless marriages like Robert Baratheon and Cersei had. But it just ends up being one of those things that's like so far down the road that I try not to focus about it too much. So don't get bummed out if you think the show isn't going to end the way you want it to. I mean, it's years away at this point. Next question, Aaron asks, in Arya 3, chapter Storm of Swords, page 249 hardcover, that's very specific, thank you for the reference. So I'm gonna skim through. You asked about a specific prophecy. One on his shoulder perched a drowned crow with seaweed hanging from his wings. So without getting into super spoilers, that actually leads up into what's going on with the King's Moot, and it seems like we'll get like a small version of that next season. The show is probably going to end up cutting out a lot of the Ironborn characters, so I don't know how they're going to modify. They're probably just going to oversimplify the King's Moot. So don't expect it to go exactly like it does in the books if you have read the books. If you haven't read the books, then don't worry. But seaweed, drowned crows, swaying bridge, it's all about Balon Greyjoy. Next question, Matt asks, what does Littlefinger mean when he tells Olenna Tyrell that he has a gift for her? So if you're talking about during season 5, he was just talking about providing him with the person that could inform on Queen Cersei. That, of course, we know now is Lancel Lannister. Now, the thing is that Lancel might not have known about Cersei's children that she had with Jaime, but he definitely knew that he slept with her. That by itself is a really big crime in the eyes of the church anyway, so that would have been enough to get her in really big trouble with the faith. Next question, Lilo asks, if Robb did indeed name Jon Snow as heir, wouldn't Littlefinger in some way or another find out? Well, this is the problem with Littlefinger's character, is that it's hard to tell how smart he is in the books compared to how smart he is on the TV show, because apparently he didn't know anything about Ramsay Snow being a complete psychopath when he married Sansa to him. So if he didn't know about Ramsay, then how's he going to find out about a mysterious letter? I think that he's heard things, and it sounds like he has an idea of what happened between Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, so that, he does have information that's very important. But without actually reading him talking about it in the books or seeing him talk about it on the show, it's just complete subtext at this point. I think that he would find out about Robb Stark legitimizing Jon Snow. I mean, if it did happen, he would find out about it with everyone else. He would probably be just as surprised as anyone else to find out about that. But thank you so much, everyone, for submitting questions. Big stuff happening tonight. The Flash is coming back, and then Arrow's coming back tomorrow. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is also tonight, too. So I'll explain my schedule in just a little bit. But they just released the Dunk and Egg book, so that is what the giveaway is for now. Congratulations to the first book giveaway winner, Darth Zana. You win a copy of Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I can get you the Kindle, the paperback, anything you want. Just be sure to private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact info. What's gonna happen now is that just for like the next couple weeks, I'm just gonna be giving away copies of the book. That's what the giveaway will be for. So be sure to subscribe to get everything. Actually, someone actually asked me for an Ashara Dane bonus video, so I might actually do that next. I don't think that I've done a video for her specifically yet. I've done an Arthur Dane video, so I'll put a link for that in the description. If you guys haven't been watching The Flash, you need to start now. It's gonna be awesome. I think it's hitting Netflix tonight too, so if you haven't seen season 1, you can totally catch up. While you wait for it to come, you can click here to watch all my Flash trailer videos, and you can click here to learn all about Arthur Dane in the books. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I will totally see you in like a couple hours.